Hi, today I want to talk about heart rate, and I want to actually show you how you're going to find your max heart rate. I want to share with you the common mistakes that people make when they're actually testing their max heart rate or trying to find it. I want to also share with you that heart rate is super important still. Even if you've got power, we need heart rate as a variable measure against that power. But we also need it because it not only tells us what we're doing on the bike, but it gives us a really good insight to what we're doing off the bike. So therefore, our recovery. And we all know, without good recovery, we don't make much progress. So you may be aware of formulas you can use to get your max heart rate. There's the Fox formula, 220 minus your age. There's the Tanaka formula, rounded up is about 208, and then we subtract 0.7 times your age, and that gives us a number. Well, both of these measures are not that accurate. Now, my max heart rate was, when I was about 19, 20, testing in the lab as an athlete, 188. I've been able to, at almost 50 years old, a couple of months off, hit 174 now. So that's a drop of 14 over that time. And when I did that max heart rate test, I assure you, at max. So heart rate is going to reduce as we get older. Now, this is not the video to explain why that happens. All I want to show you in this video is how to make sure you're measuring accurately in a test what your max heart rate is. So here's the common mistake a lot of people make. The first thing is the warm-up. The warm-up is super important, and it's a lot longer than you think. We know in studies that an athlete needs a minimum of 20 minutes, but I like to take an athlete over 30 minutes. 30 minutes actually at 60% of your maximum to start with, for at least half of that. So that's not too strenuous on the body. So what's happening during that period of time is the temperature is rising. We need 1 degree higher in the muscles. So in the core of the muscle, when it's 1 degree higher, it becomes more efficient. Also, in that time as well, the body will posturally get used to the ride. So through the hips, through the neck, through the shoulders, everything will sort of dial in to what we're about to do. It also allows us time as well to make sure we get our mental strategy all sorted out. During the next 15 minutes of your warm-up, what you should aim to do is to add tiny little spikes, but at a gradually increasing resistance on your bike. You aim for 3 of these over a period of 5 to 10 seconds of fast cadence. But you make sure that you have quite a long recovery. So all we're trying to do is to spark electricity into the muscles. So we would spin up 10, 15 RPM above normal, and then we would spike a 5-second full gas. Freewheel, catch the pedaling, ride for at least 3 minutes, do the same again. But on the second one, we increase the resistance. And we have a little bit of a spike beforehand, so we almost ramp into it. Now, at least 3 of these over the next 15 minutes is fine. You make sure you have 3 to 5 minutes after the third one, before you finish, where you allow your heart rate to come back down. Now, during this warm-up, your heart rate may only get up to about 75, 80, 85%, depending on your fitness. That doesn't matter. The key thing is you will be sweating and you will feel activated. Then you're going to move into the test. So the second area that a lot of people get wrong is the actual test for max heart rate. It's too short. Too many people do an explosive effort and it's far too short to capture your max heart rate. Now, in a first test, if you're a beginner or even if you've done a few, you may not actually get to your max heart rate. Why is that? Because the body has a switch off mechanism. It's got a sprinkler system. Because when you actually hit that danger level, the brain's saying, stop, 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 everything shut down. And we're likely to give up at that point. And that usually for most people is around 15% from your max. With experience, you'll learn to deal with these feelings and you'll learn to put them aside and you'll learn to push that little bit further. And as your fitness gets higher, you will be able to go deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay, let's get into it. So I use 2 methods. Method 1 is the ramp. And this method is whereby we would increase the intensity during a 10 to 12 minute period. So if it's a beginner, I would set them on a 2-minute increment. and they would ride for 2 minutes and then increase the intensity. Now that intensity doesn't need to be much, because by 10 minutes we want to be at a point whereby we're almost at our max, and we would keep going. Keep going until you cannot pedal anymore. But here's the thing, if the intensity rises subtly, slowly, it allows the body to adapt and accommodate. If we spike it too much and we go anaerobic too deep, yes, you'll feel like you're exhausted and you cannot pedal anymore, but you haven't allowed for that adjustment and that lag effect where the heart rate will drift naturally. Heart rate has a poor response at higher intensities to a fast reaction, so you have to accommodate that and move through. But 10 to 12 minutes is optimal. If you get that warm up right, you will get that ramp right and you will reach that peak, and you'll find yourself getting a higher heart rate. Now method number 2 is what I term my double tap. Now double tap just refers to 2 efforts. Now it can sometimes take 3, but in the early stages it works at 2. And I use this type of test for somebody who's maybe more experienced. They may even have power as well. And what we would do is, after the long warm up, I would ask a rider to ride at VO2 max, so starting from 105% of FTP or a level 9 out of 10 RPE. And I would want them to hold that for 2 to 3 minutes, depending on their experience. Then switch off. They would switch off for the same amount of time that you rode for. So if it was a 2-minute VO2, you would get a 2-minute rest, 3 minutes, likewise. Then what you do is you then repeat, and you try and repeat the same intensity over the same time, but you do not allow the rider to switch off after they finish that time. So the example is, rider goes 2 minutes at VO2, works hard, allow the heart rate then to recover, go into the recovery zone, ride for zone 1 for 2 minutes, then do it again. But at the end of 2 minutes, you enforce the rider to keep going, and they keep going until they cannot sustain the power or the intensity. They don't have to increase, they just have to keep going. Most VO2 efforts would finish at 8 minutes maximum. So if you get a rider not to focus on increasing the intensity or even just a little bit, the heart rate will drift and it will hit its max. Now this can be done outside on the road, and it can be done on hill efforts. But if you do it internally in a studio or in a lab, what you'll also get is you'll get the benefit of the heat from that environment, and that will also allow the heart rate to rise, and you will get that true max heart rate. Now when you've got your max heart rate, then you're going to create your zones. I'll save that for another video, or you can just buzz me. There's plenty of info about zones, but if I told you with heart rate you're working to 3 zones, would that confuse you? Do you understand that? Because there's 6, 7, 9 zones, Scott. Drop a comment if you would like to understand where the 3 zones are. And I mean, you can use heart rate so powerfully with those 3 zones that you'll make huge progress, even with your power. Okay, remember, anyone can train hard. There's only a few of us can train smart, folks. You stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.